God, he's going to go around the inside. He's going to send it. He's taking the lead of the Canadian Grand Prix on the last lap. Matt Turner takes the win in a remarkable race. We have teammates coming together. How devastating!
And hello everyone, good afternoon, evening to you all, live here from the iFormula League Season 3 F2 Championship. I am going to be your commentator for today, Alyssa Long. I hope you all enjoy the lovely, magnificent race we've got going on from the Circuit de Barcelona, Catalunya. It's going to be the full course, the GP circuit, all 2.84 miles of it, and I'm honestly super pumped for this. I hope you all enjoyed that lovely intro. As always, amazing job by everyone involved. And I'm excited for this. We're just entering the start of qualifying, but let's talk a little bit about the circuit before we get going, and we'll talk to you a bit about the teams involved this season as well. So, the Circuit de Barcelona Catalunya came to iRacing actually in 2019, debuted in August 2019 in a 24-hour race, which was probably one of the better races that we've had within this circuit. It was definitely one that put its name out on the map, which was insane. The fact that it came through and the first race held on it was a 24-hour race, something that was completely bonkers at the time, but iRacing made it work, and it's all very exciting. But enough about that. We're starting to get some times through. So, let's take a look so far. Let's jump on board with currently our pole position man, Corey Whiting. Currently setting the fastest lap of the race of a 1:30.5 in qualifying. Admittedly, it's just going to be the first laps out for these guys. And I'm going to admit, during practice, we've had a lot of teams entering in last minute, which is always a lovely scenario to happen. But I am very impressed with this White Coat Motorsports team. They are looking quick this season. I think CUDA are going to have their work cut out for them. Take on top of that the likes of Lumos as well. Some of you guys may recognize the names. They are quite familiar, but honestly, this season's going to be epic. I cannot wait. And Carlos Catao has said that he's going to he said that he was going to be as part of the back of the grid for the most of this season, and yet currently sitting in second place, 2 tenths off of his teammate. So I don't know if he felt a little bit like bad because his pace wasn't as good as his teammate, but yeah, he's definitely got something in the locker, that's for sure. But currently we're seeing some more times out there, just a few more people out on outlaps at the moment. No one really, aside from the white coat guys, no one's really setting any blistering laps so far. Chris Byram currently sat in 3rd place for the CUDA Works team. Absolutely amazing liveries this season as well. The teams have all knocked it out of the park. It's incredible. But let's see. Let's look at further down the grid. Let's take a look through all of the drivers for the season. See what everyone's getting up to. See if anybody's sitting in the pit lane as well. So, at the moment on pole position, we do have Corey Whiting, as I said, the number 13 car from Whitecoat. And just as I say that, Chris Byram goes and sets the fastest lap of the session with a 1:29.937, which I must admit, pretty damn quick around here. Fastest laps in practice I was seeing were sort of around about the 30s, mid to high 30s. So the fact that he's broken that 30 barrier is pretty crazy. And here we have in 3rd place the number 11 of Carlos Catao, as I mentioned. Guy said he was going to be slow. Turns out to be one of the quicker drivers here, at least so far, within 6 minutes gone of this qualifying session. Next up, P4, number 9 of Ronald Mathau, who is a driver that I am excited to see what he can pull off. Much like most of these drivers, I am very excited to see what all of them can do. This Formula Renault 3.5 car that we're using for the F2 Championship, very difficult car to control. I've been seeing a lot of people spinning in practice, so the fact that everyone's keeping it clean so far, it's a good sign for the race. But yeah, for some reason, these cars just seem to really bite you if you're not always on it. Comparing it to the likes of the Mercedes that we're going to be using in F1 now that that's officially out, it is a whole different way of driving. It definitely seems like the way that you drive a Formula Renault 3.5 and a Formula 1 car is night and day. You'd think, you know, single-seaters, quite high downforce for both of them, that they're going to be, driving style-wise, pretty similar. Yes, you've got to worry about being smooth as you do with all race cars, but for some reason, that W12 just seems to just grip for days. It's on rails with all of the, you know, high aero packages and all the work that the Mercedes engineers put in. Absolutely crazy, and yet this Formula Renault 3.5 car is still capable of putting out some good lap times, but 10 seconds-ish slower on race pace, and more than that in quali, and it shows. It really does. Like, the differences between all the different series this season is going to make it quite interesting. Obviously, for a lot of guys, there's a couple guys that we had last-minute entries that went from F3 up to F2. And I'll jump on board with one of them now, Frederick Larson, who jumped up from F3 to F2, wanted to give the F2 a try. The grid initially was going to be quite small. It was only going to be like 14 drivers or so. But with the surge of last-minute entries, we've pushed that up to be almost a 22-car grid now, I think we're sitting at. So it's going to be a very close, very exciting race. Qualifying lap times at the moment between the top 4, which will be Whitecoat and Kuda, both very close. And then it seems like we've got that mid-pack battle as well, all the way from Mathau all the way down to Cabral as well. All looking incredibly close. And, you know, qualifying is an interesting one, because there's this whole thing with qualifying of you need to find your clean air. You need to make sure that you're getting the car into as good a position as possible, but then part of you is also wanting to really push the car to its absolute limits and try to find maybe a draft to gain a couple of seconds down the straight as well. So there's always that thing, as Frederick does end up spinning and does crash into the wall. That's something he's not going to want to be doing in the race, that's for sure. But thanks to the glory of iRacing, he can reset and go back out again for another couple of laps. And let me take you through the grid as I mentioned. So positions have changed up a little bit. Top 3 still Carlos Catal, Chris Byram and Corey Whiting. Then in P4 for Kuda we do have Ivan Bovekamp, and then in P5 the number 20 car of Frederick Larson. P6 we've got Ronald Mathau in that number 9 car. And then the number 14, currently in position 7, of Alex Gutknecht, racing for that Lumos Esports Academy driver. Which, interesting facts, the Lumos and Kuda guys were definitely giving it some in the paddock earlier. Throughout the week, they've been very much trying to, I think, big each other up. I think to make the competition a little bit closer. Kudo were very much saying that they're going to be at the top of the season. They're going to be up and they're going to be absolutely destroying everyone. They're going to be, you know, seconds faster per lap. And then Lumos on the other side were like, yeah, but actually it's going to be the other way around. You know, you guys are going to be far behind us in our rear views. When you say you're going to be 8 seconds out in front, that's only because we're coming up to lap you. And it's all very interesting. All of this is making me definitely want to put up a much further emphasis on the team battles that we have going on. Obviously, there are the main teams in Formula 2 will all be taking points. Everyone in this race will be taking points, but the teams that have entered in for the full season will also be getting some prizes along the way. So, speaking of the F2, let me bring up the main teams for you that are going to be racing. So, the main entries that we had at the start of the season before we had some late entries. We've got Lumos eMotorsports with Seth Davidson and Alex Gutnecht. We've got Orion Racing, which is Buddy Boggs and Isaac Salas. We've then got Turning Point Racing, which will be Louis Colon and Corey Schartzer. We've got Ariga Motorsport, which will be Eli Cannon and Carlos Catal. Whitecoat Racing, which will be Corey Whiting and Carlton Hall. Just trying to find their names in the timing sheets, always difficult to see. Yes, Aprilia Motorsports, which will be Sean Gerd and Ronald Mathau, and then the CUDA Works team, which will be Chris Byram and Ivan Bovkamp. All very much dedicated for the season. As I say, couple of entries, because there's definitely not 14 drivers in this grid today. A couple of late entries, so we've got 6 of them. If I could find every single one of them and let you guys know, I would, but my brain isn't quite that big. So, unfortunately, we're going to have to limit what we've got. But, as I say, at the moment, in terms of lap times, Carlos Catal still leading the way. So, we've got a white coat. White coat in 3rd, Aprilia in 11th. Very similar colours between the two of them. Makes it difficult to tell the difference. Chris Byram sitting currently in P2 with his teammate sitting in P4. So CUDA definitely proving they're talking the talk and very much walking the walk as well. And Frederick Larson currently in P5 as well. So he was one that got brought up, and it was going to be interesting to see whether or not he can perform at this top level, which always nice to see these guys all trying to get each other involved and bring in this sort of very big community atmosphere together. It's all very nice to see. And I do wonder whether or not any drivers have been helping each other out, potentially with some team talk in the paddocks and stuff like that. Obviously, we know the rivalry between CUDA and Lumos means they're not going to be working together. But, maybe newer entries, like Turning Point, for example, with Corey Schartzer and Louis Colon. Maybe, they're trying to get some help from the top teams and the front runners to see what they're doing, maybe setup-wise, see what's happening with whether or not they've got any tyre strategy going on. It will be a tyre strategy race. You will need to pit for fuel and you will need to pit for tyres throughout the course of this 40-plus lap race. And it's all going to make it quite interesting. Obviously, there is a big talk in a lot of single-seater racing about strategy. It seems to be what makes or breaks races at the moment, specifically on a track like Barcelona, where overtaking is very difficult. Typically we see, especially in real-world racing, in the F1, for example, we've had, the top guys in F1 have all been very much, they struggle to pass. They've said that numerous times. I think the lowest down on the grid anyone's been in F1 but still won the Barcelona or Spanish Grand Prix has been 5th. It's difficult, but maybe in sim racing it's slightly different. We have slightly different physics compared to the real world, but the racing itself is always very close, very exciting, and that's what we're looking forward to with 15 minutes gone of this qualifying session. At the moment, no one's really sort of shifting around after the first sort of couple of laps, so that's always nice to see that everyone's sort of starting to take off the sandbags and really show what they've got. Definitely in the case of CUDA with Byram and Bovkamp sitting there currently P2 and P3. Ugh, tell you what, definitely need a drink when you're commentating, but hope everyone does enjoy the action today. As always, it is the first round of the season, the most exciting round of the season, because we'll finally see what all of this talk off track is doing, and we'll be able to bring up what's going on throughout the rest of the season. I think as the teams continue going on throughout the season, they're going to start having these sort of thoughts of, you know, what can we do to make ourselves quicker? Do we need to try and look for alternate strategies potentially? Because, you know, what you're doing now may not be working, so you may need to actually start pushing yourself to go slightly longer in your stints, gain track position for when you do pit, so that you can maybe hold some of the top teams up in hopes that you can gain a couple positions that way. And just in general, I think the strategy is always a very interesting point of debate. It's one of those things that I don't think gets talked about quite as much as it should, about how important a good strategy can play a part. You could be one of the fastest drivers here. For example, we could take Prix, currently second place, setting very consistent lap times, very, very good lap times as well. But he could end up having a session where he, for whatever reason, just could be one of the quickest cars, but the strategy just doesn't play out. He gets stuck behind some traffic after a pit stop, and all of a sudden that nailed on P2 or nailed on P1 has now pushed him down further down the grid to like maybe 7th or 8th even. So it's crucial that not only do you drive fast enough to win the race, you also have a strategy good enough to get you out in clean air when you need it, but also get in traffic to potentially save some fuel in the long run, to alternate what you're doing fuel-wise. Obviously, if you can take less fuel than other cars, then you're going to end up having a lot better of a position later on in the race. But let's take a look at some other drivers in the meantime, and you know what? Let's go and get an onboard lap, as we do see Carlos Quital pushing it just a little bit too hard there and going into the wall, losing the front end of his car. That's not what you want, but as I say, thankfully, due to the glory of iRacing, that's not going to matter as much, as he can just go back, get a new car, and he's all sorted for the rest of qualifying. But let's jump on board now with Ivan Bovkamp, and let's take a look at what a lap looks like from the driver's point of view. Or maybe not. Commentator's curse, as always, strikes again, and he's ended up beaching it in the sand. Not what you want on a qualifying lap, as his tyres are now going to dirty up, and he's going to have to shake them off. And maybe next lap won't count, so he's gonna go out again and maybe take this lap a little bit easier, get rid of the dirt on those tyres, and really start pushing again afterwards. So let's see, who else is on qualifying laps right now? Let's see. Frederick Larson currently looking to improve on his laps. Still in P5, but he does set a new personal best lap, which is always nice to see. He's now pushed himself up a little bit closer towards Whiting, but maybe not quite close enough, not to where he thinks he should be. Commentator curse is strong today, indeed it is, it always is. But it's always something that we as commentators try to avoid, as Davidson does go quicker as well. Gonna see if anyone's setting any personal best sectors. Chris Byram currently setting a personal best in that middle sector. Let's jump on board with him and see what he can end up doing. Although he does have a little bit of traffic coming through the final sector here, so hopefully they can get out of the way. That is the number 15 car, I think, there. So maybe getting in the way a little bit for Carlton Hall to hopefully keep Corey Whiting up there a bit further. But I think Chris Byram may have just made a few little mistakes there in going through the final sector, so he's not going to improve. That is a 131.4, but I reckon he's going to gun it on this lap, and I'll take you through for a full onboard lap here with Byram as he looks towards the orange on the left-hand side, braking, turning in, trying to hit both apexes of this corner. You want to kind of aim for the middle of the track before turn 3. A little bit of a lift just on the entry, but then flat out as early as you can. Bring it all the way out to the left-hand side of the circuit before braking for turn 4. Under the bridge here, trying to hit a late apex, where Byram seems to miss it. Doesn't realise an apex existed that way. and now goes through to turn 5. Very easy to lock up the brakes here or get the tyre lifting and not really using as much grip as you possibly can in that corner with the off-camber nature of it. And oh no, that's another spin as he was on for another lap. And once again, it seems like that corner, turn number 7 or 8, it's just catching everybody out. It is probably one of the hardest corners deceptively on this circuit. For whatever reason, when drivers turn into that corner, they think, oh great, I've got the camber going into it, but then they forget that partway through on the apex it actually switches. The camber of the road will cause a bump and a dip that actually would then unsettle the rear of the car and cause the car to come out if you're not nailed on in a straight line as you get on that throttle. So that's always something that you're looking to do. As we see, Cesar Cabral has just set a faster lap. Indeed he has. That puts him now 7th, up there in the 1:31.295, which is 0.2 off of Mathau, so maybe he can look to try and improve that lap time, pop him up another position. Who else have we got here? Is anyone else improving? I think Panic PvP is currently looking to improve as he comes around the final corner. Let's see if he can improve and put himself further up. And I don't think he did. Yes, he did. That puts him up to 7th. So he's done a 1:31.22, which is his fastest lap so far. And he's just going to call it there, I think. With only 3 minutes left of the session, he may try and get out for one more flyer, but I think that might be it for quite a few of these guys. Chris Byram's going to try and go for pole, definitely. He wants that pole position, he wants the fastest lap, he wants everything. He wants to be quickest in every session, wants to be winning every race, and honestly, with that CUDA car, it's looking possible, as he will start his flying lap, and let's see whether or not he can improve. And if he can, this might be a lap for the ages. As, again, entering into turn 1, let's see what he's like on the apex, clips it very nicely, and onto the second part of the corner, keeping it into the middle of the track. Slight lift there, mid-corner, but getting back on the power nicely. Bring it all the way out to the left-hand side. You can use a little bit of the AstroTurf on the exit, but not too much, because that will throw you into an off-track, which will then get you... Oh, car spun. Hold your brakes! Whew, that was a little bit sketchy. May need to talk to a couple of drivers just to make sure they're holding their brakes when they're coming back on track. This is where he lost it before, but can he keep it together? Indeed he can. At the moment, he is purple through the first sector, so he is on a flyer right now, trying to really push for everything he's got. Is he going to be able to improve in the middle sector? I don't think he did. I think that was an orange sector, so he's not necessarily finding time in the second sector, but he may have found just enough in the first to circumvent that, and he's going to be gunning for everything he can here in the final few corners. Nice apex there, trying to make sure that you slow it down enough for the final chicane, but you try not to use as much of the sausage curve as you can. Get on the power nice and early, flat out around the final corner. He's going to try and gun it towards the line as straight as you can, straight as an arrow. Is he going to be able to go faster? Oh, I believe he did go faster, but just 1/10 off. 0.076 of a second from Chris Byram, and he is going to have enough time for one more lap, but does he have the fuel for it? He's going to be gunning it either way. He wants this pole position. He can feel it. All he needs to do is make sure he finds a 10th, but he ends up spinning it through the third corner. Oh, that's going to put an end to the session for Chris Byram, and oh no. That does leave him in second. You could tell he was trying. He was definitely wanting to get pole position off of Carlos Quetal, but wow, that session from Chris Byram right down to the wire. Just a couple of corners. He could have just pushed a little bit harder and maybe he gets into that pole position, but unfortunately that won't be it for him. But we are currently seeing a couple more people just finishing off their final laps. So Alex Gutnecht currently improving in the middle sector. Let's see if he can improve in the final sector as well. Hopefully he can. That will put him up a few more positions. His current fastest lap is a 1:31.5. anything quicker than a 131.4, and he will be improving. But let's see what he can do in the final sector. Flat out, is he going to be able to improve? That is a 132.8, so unfortunately doesn't look like he's going to improve much, and that will put an end to his session as Eli Cannon comes around the final corner. Is he going to improve? And nope, that is a 131.6, so he doesn't improve either. But that is qualifying over and done with. And honestly, this race is going to be close between your top 5. I think that that top 5 battle is going to be one to watch. It's going to be very close, very tightly contested, and honestly, I can't wait. The mid of the pack between P6, which would be Ronald Mathau, all the way down to Troy Banks, who's sitting currently in 13th, all within 0.6 of a second of each other. That's also going to be one to watch. And you're keeping it close between the two teammates of Colon and Schatzer within 0.3. So that's always nice to see. Always nice to see teammates quite close to each other on track. But, whew, that was a good qualifying session. And honestly, if qualifying keeps on like that, this session is going to be insane. I'm hoping I can display the grid for you, or at least the results for qualifying. Here we are then. Results for qualifying, I'll run you through the grid order so far. A couple of these teams are not listed correctly, but we will try our best to be fixing that throughout the season. So, on pole position, Carlos Quital takes the win with a 129.8, which is an amazing lap from him in that number 11 car. Currently, as I say, in pole position. Alongside him will be Chris Byram in the CUDA Works car, which was only 0.07 off. An amazing lap time from him. Very, very close. Very, very tight qualifying session. A little bit in it, but it's always what we love to see between the top two. Then behind Chris is going to be his teammate in the CUDA Works team, which will be Ivan Bovkamp, who sits 0.3 behind on track, but he's definitely going to be looking towards helping his teammate into the first couple of corners, maybe even trying to defend a little bit or try to attack Carlos and hopefully make a way for Chris to get through, and then the two of them can hopefully get past and move on together. And then we've got Corey Whiting sitting behind Ivan Bovkamp, which will be the first of the... that would be the first of the... I had the team name in mind. It's gone. It will come back to me. But he is sitting fourth. Frederick Larson, again, moved up from F3, remember. So that's one to watch. An F3 driver moves up to F2, sits P5 on the grid, 0.7 off. That's pretty good going. Ronald Mathau sitting currently in P6. 1.2 seconds off the pace. Panic PvP 1.3 seconds off the pace in 7th. We have Cesar Cabral in 8th, which would be 1.4 seconds off. Seth Davidson in 9th, 1.6 seconds off. Alex Gutnecht in 10th with 1.6 seconds off. Eli Cannon in 11th place there, with Carlton Hall following up behind in P12. P13 will be Troy Banks, followed off by P14, which would be Lewis Colon, and P15, Lewis's teammate Corey Schatzer there for the Turning Point team. And further down the grid here in P16, we do have Sean Gerd, followed off by Fernando Matos in P17, Buddy Boggs there in P18 as well. And I believe that is all we got results-wise. I can't see any other numbers, so that sort of would round up the grid. There's a couple of other drivers that will be in different positions going forward. So I believe we have 21 cars, so there'll be, the others will sort of filter in based on, I am assuming, iRating, but we'll have to wait and see how iRacing decides to level the playing field on that one. But we're just in the warm-up, a little bit of a 5-minute warm-up, make sure we can run through the qualifying results, run through everything we need to run through, but I'm going to be honest, I just want the racing to start. That's all I want. I just want to get the racing underway. I want to see what these guys are capable of, and I want to apparently wreck my voice. Oh, need to take a drink after all that talk. So, let's see. Is anyone doing anything exciting at the moment? At the moment, Steve Bunting setting the fastest lap of the warm-up. But again, not particularly showing of what's going to be happening throughout the race, I don't think. I think we're going to be just seeing a lot of people just chilling and just trying to take a bit of a breather, maybe practice a couple of race starts. Let's actually switch to the pit lane cam, see if anyone is doing that at the moment. If it lets me. Seems like it won't. That's always lovely. There we go. So at the moment, doesn't look like anyone's doing any practice starts down here. But, session's almost over, and then we'll get the race underway. Let's see where everyone is on track. Is Chris doing anything? Chris is just sort of going around, practicing, warming up the tyres, making sure he's got the track nailed. Probably practicing turn number 7 as well a little bit more after the spins he's had in qualifying. But I think he's more so wanting to make sure that he can keep his head in the game. After all, starting in that... starting in P2, 7/10ths off, as the rest of the grid I will run you through now. So, on the back of the grid after the results, we do have Isaac Sellas, Steve Bunting, and Nick Marshall, who brought up the back of the field, who are arranged in iRating order as far as I was aware of that one. So, all very nice. Very lovely. But that's not what we're here for. We're here for the race. And we will take you through on board as the lights do come on for the start of this season. Up to 5 red lights, and we're out with Carlos Catal trying to make a good start here from pole position, but Chris seemed to get an absolutely mega start off the run there, as Chris is now going to take the lead of this race. His teammates trying to look in behind. Is he going to be able to make a move over on Carlos? And he does go for it, but I think Carlos is going to give him the room, as they're going to now filter down into P1, P2, P3, all sort of trying to shift around and battle for positions, and there seems to be more chaos going on in the background with a couple of drivers going off as well. There is a yellow flag at the moment in that first sector, but I don't think it's going to be affecting too many cars, as Ronald Mathau has dropped a lot of positions there off the start of that race. And he seems to be going quite slowly. I don't know whether or not we've potentially got a safety car here, but it seems like Chris Byram, Carlos, and Ivan are all looking to continue driving as they're all trying to make runs on each other, but it seems like a lot of the cars down near there at the bottom are, I think, going quite slowly. I'm not sure if they have any damage potentially off the start of that. I need to see what happened, because that race looked a bit crazy. So let's take a look. We do have a replay of what happened with... where is that one? So, Sean Gerd had a crash at the start of this race. As we see a car that is smoking there off the start. I don't know who that is, but that's potentially some major issues, as Sean Gerd unfortunately lost it on the start. That's not what you want to be seeing. off the start of the grid. He just got too much revs and unfortunately had some issues. As let's take a look at some other replays off the start, and unfortunately there seems to be a contact between the Lumos drivers and another couple of drivers there as well. They're all taking each other out and causing a massive pile up there at the back of the grid, so that's why a couple of cars did drop quite a few positions from the start of the race, and that's why I think they were going slowly, was to try and potentially let some other people through and make sure that there was a bit of a reset there as to what was going on. But jumping back on board now with Chris Byram, and yeah, it was indeed called as a safety car, which was, I believe, the right call there. Making sure that all the drivers are safe, making sure that everyone is doing alright. I think there has been someone who's already gone into the pit lane with damage, and that would be Carlton Hall. I don't think anyone else was in the pits. I think everyone else is still circulating around. A couple of people still trying to catch up to the back of this safety car crew, but I want to see what happened with... Let's see if we can figure out what caused that collision. Oh, it was one of the Orega teams. It was Eli Cannon that was the one who got hit, and that caused quite a lot of other carnage between a lot of the other drivers, and that's why we were seeing that unfortunate safety car being called so early. And you hate to see it, you really do. I wish I'd caught that, but unfortunately this seems to be, as we tend to look at another replay there, so it was the Lumos driver going back into the back of the Orega driver, and that's what causes the pile up that we see between a lot of the other cars. And that's sort of what caused the issue there for a lot of the other backmarker teams. And that's why we're now seeing the likes of Ronald Mathau, who dropped 11 places, Cesar Cabral dropped 10, Eli Cannon dropped 8, Sean Gurd dropped 4, Alex Gutneck dropped 2, but he seems to be slowly recovering. But there's a lot of drivers that made a lot of... But let's jump back on board with Chris Byram and let's see how the safety car is doing. Hopefully the safety car will be coming in soon. It does look like the safety car has still got its lights on, so we won't be going back under racing just yet, but that crash has caused a lot of issues for a few other drivers further down the grid, and it's not something we're going to enjoy seeing. That's probably going to be looked at after the race, and as I say, for this front three, it does shake things up a little bit. Carlos obviously now has a little bit of work to do to try and maybe get past Chris on the safety car restart, which should be next lap by. But I don't think he's going to mind too much, as we do see a couple of drivers jumping through into pit lane. Luis Colon is in, Alex Gutneck is in, Fernando Mateos is in, we've got Buddy Boggs in, Ronald Mathau in, Cesar Cabral in, Sean Gurd in. All those drivers do have a fast repair, so a lot of them will be able to get their cars repaired quite nice and easy, and then go back out. They may take the time to potentially refuel, maybe change tyres as well. Obviously we will see that hopefully through the course of the session, as Carlos Guitao has disconnected, I think. It seems like his car has disappeared. That is unfortunate for Carlos Guitao. He was looking like he would be one of the quicker drivers, and he has unfortunately disconnected, and that puts him out of this race, which is very unfortunate. But 3 laps of this 42 lap race gone, and unfortunately, with that big crash at the start of on the start of lap 1, it does mean we will get a safety car restart, so it will be a single file restart. Hopefully that means there's a little bit less carnage this time, but people are going to have to make sure that they don't pass before the start finish line, because if they do, they will get a penalty from iRacing, something we can't control, unfortunately. But I believe that would be the same in the real series anyway. It just makes it easier. The safety car, I'm hoping, will pull into the pit lane this time by. I don't get much information regarding that, so we're just going to see a lot of drivers warming their tyres. And let's see what our big movers were currently through the first part of the race. Isaac Salas bringing up a lovely couple of positions up into P9 there. He came up 10 positions from the grid, which is very, very nice to see. Steve Bunting behind him, also 10 positions up. Nick Marshall, also 10 positions up. So those three all sticking together quite tight as a group. They all started the grid in the same positions that they are, but they did gain, obviously, from the collisions that did affect the likes of Cesar Cabral, Ronald Mathau, Sean Gerd, and a couple of the other drivers. As I do believe Carlos Catal is now back, but I believe he is still in the pit lane at the moment, so he won't be able to join back until the safety car has gone through. And I will tell you what, the first lap incidents, they are very, very much, it's always the driver's fear, right? When you start a race, you're worried about getting through lap 1 in one piece. And when you try and get through lap 1 in one piece, you do sometimes, there does end up being a few mistakes, as we will get another lap under safety car here. And then maybe after that lap, we should hopefully get back underway racing. As there seems to be no one else is sort of jumping around, obviously, under safety car. But let's talk a bit more about the teams in question, and let's talk a little bit more about what's been going on and off track, as Cesar Cabral apparently has crashed. I don't know where he did that, but he's ended up having a little bit of a mistake there, as Carlton Hall is just slowly keeping up with everyone else. We're all trying to make sure that everything is all organised, as it seems to be a couple of people who are trying to just bunch up, make sure everyone is all nice and together. Obviously, you don't want too many packs and too many, like, big... You don't want to have an issue on a safety car restart where the pack's, like, really far apart, right? Kind of ruins a lot of the fun. You want everyone to be as close together as they can be, so hopefully we see a couple of these drivers start to maybe try to just pull onto the back of the guy in front just a little bit more before we get underway racing again. And I will say, these CUDA guys, they have been a name in the iFormula League that if you watch any of the previous races in the iFormula League, you will see that they are they're a pretty big name. They tend to be near the front of the field more often than not. I know Chris was saying how he wanted, or when I asked about why CUDA have a couple of teams in different series, he was like, well, the best drivers want to race for the best team. So he definitely has that attitude of, he thinks CUDA are championship contenders time and time again, and they seem to prove it time and time again. So we're looking to see if anyone can challenge this season, and we're definitely hoping we can, with the likes of Corey Whiting for that white coat team, Carlos Catal as well, hopefully throughout the season if he doesn't have any more disconnects. But yeah, always unfortunate to see your race ended by a disconnect, but unfortunately computer problems do happen. It's like in the real world, you'll get random car failures, so unfortunately that is the sim racer equivalent. Carlos Catal has left the pits though, so he is looking to try and get back into this race. He will be a lap down, I do believe. So we will see whether or not he can make his way back up the grid. Obviously now all the way at the back there in P20, and I believe the safety car is coming in, as it does look like Chris Byram has slowed the pack down a little bit, getting everyone a bit closer. And when is he going to go green? He's going to organize this with his teammate, and here we go. Green flag is being waved. Chris Byram and Ivan Bovkamp are both trying to make their way through, and they seem to be going a little bit slowly there. That seems to be a little bit... That's not what you want on a green flag restart there, to be stopping and starting the field like that. Hopefully no one got caught off guard by that one, and hopefully everyone is making it through in one piece, trying to make sure that you aren't overtaking before the start-finish line, obviously, as we now see we're going to look down back further through the field because Seth Davidson is under pressure from a lot of other cars. So Panic PvP, Corey Schartzer all trying to make their moves up the insides, outsides, all around at the moment, and Seth is going to have to be looking in his mirrors, looking in front, looking behind, because he's going to be trying to attack the car in front of Corey Whiting, but he needs to be careful that he doesn't lock up, and he does unfortunately lock up, and that might let Panic be able to make a move, and Panic does look for it, but you ain't going to find a move around here as he tries to hold him off very nicely there. Through turn 8, going into the sweeper now, as Corey Schartzer has also had a little bit of a mistake, and he's just beached it in the sand, and that's not very good. He's going to end up dropping down the field quite a bit. Being careful when you rejoin the track, make sure there's no one around, but it looks like Nick Marshall wasn't too far behind, as we will go and look a bit further up on the grid. Let's see if there are any other gaps forming, as it seems like Chris Byram has managed to really get further out there, as Steve has also had an issue, and he's pulling off the track. I don't know what has happened. I think his car might have stalled. He potentially may have had a stall, and he's now dropped down further down the field as well. As we're going to jump back on board with Seth Davidson, is he going to be able to hold on? And it looks like he has done so far. Currently fastest lap of the race by Chris Byram of 1:33.5. Pretty expected there, obviously being one of the first proper race laps we've had now, as it seems like there are a couple of other guys all trying to battle out, as Roland Mathau is potentially going to try and look for the move on Isaac Salias, and he does. He looks for the move up the inside, and he does manage to get it up the inside there of turn number 1. Is he going to be able to hold off Isaac over the outside? And it looks like he does. Obviously the dirty air going to affect Isaac, maybe make sure he doesn't get a good run, as Ronald now is trying to catch up to his teammate maybe, and hopefully they can try and push each other a little bit closer, as Luis Colon is also now past Fernando Mateos. It looks like Fernando Mateos did make a little bit of a mistake there, and Eli Cannon is going to try and look to potentially make a move on those two if they keep battling like they are. But further up the field, Seth Davidson and Corey Whiting are about to go and battle each other. Sorry, Seth Davidson and Panic. Panic's going to look towards the inside. Is he going to be able to make a move? And it looks like he's going to look for it, and he does make the move. Nice and easy there, but it looks like he's going to come back on the inside. Seth Davidson is going to look around the inside. Is he going to be able to hold it around the outside? And it looks like Seth is trying everything in the book. He's throwing the entire kitchen sink at him, and he's not able to get past. So that's some amazing defending there from Panic. And I must admit, Seth is also trying to make sure that he doesn't lose any positions and doesn't make any unneeded moves here. Obviously, only 7 laps down of a 42-lap race. So we have a long way to go, as we do see Chris Byram starting to be the pace setter a little bit here and really start to try and push, as we do see now, who's that? Troy Banks has had an issue, and he's stopped on the side of the road, and I think he's out of the race. I don't know what happened, whether or not he didn't put in enough fuel, but he is out as well, as Panic is still going to be looking for a move. I think he just did manage to get past Seth Davidson, and that Lumos eMotorsports driver, sorry, is going to be looking to try and make a move on Panic, as Panic did manage to get past, but hopefully Seth and Panic can try and maybe work together, try and catch up to Frederick Larson, who's currently sat in 4th position. Remember, Frederick has been brought up from F3 to F2, and he's currently challenging Corey Whiting for 3rd place, which should be a battle that we're all very excited to see form in the season. As let's see if anybody else is battling, and it looks like Ronald Mathau has caught up to Sean Gerd, his teammate, and I want to say there was a change there somewhere between Panic and Seth. I think they're still going at it, and this looks like it's going to be the closest battle on track for a while, so we'll keep following Seth and Panic as they're trying to catch up towards the back of Corey Whiting. And I think, no, it was Corey Whiting that made the mistake, so Frederick Larson's now up to P3, which is very impressive from the driver. I believe it is his first start in Formula 2 here for the iFormula League, as Bovkamp now sets the fastest lap of the race, 1/10 behind his teammate, and it looks like a lot of the others, because of the battling, are quite a bit far off the pace, but Larson managing to keep up just enough, and hopefully we can see those three start to really push. And oh no, Seth Davidson has made a mistake. He's gone too wide into the first corner, which is going to allow Colon maybe to get past as well, and it does, so that drops him a couple of other positions. So Alex Gutnecht, his teammate, now needs to try and run the flag for this Lumos Motorsports car and try to catch up to the back of Panic PvP, who's currently trying to fight for that 4th position with Corey Whiting. And I'll tell you what, this action is so far absolutely crazy. We've got battles everywhere, as Cesar Cabral is now trying to get onto the back of Sean Gurdon, maybe make a move, but he needs to be careful, because if he tries to hold up too much, then he has other cars on the back of him as well, who I think, no, actually, that would be Carlton Hall. As we see, Panic is disconnected as well, unfortunately. So Carlton Hall is a back marker at the moment, but he is keeping up the pace. So he's going to try and look to maybe make these moves as quickly as possible, but it doesn't look like he's going to be able to, as Sean Gird's going to try and go defensive, see if he can hold off Cesar Cabral, but it doesn't work quite as he wanted, as Cesar Cabral does try and make his way through. Obviously, a bit of a compromised line, but he doesn't seem to be able to affect him too much, with Sean Gurd now trying to maybe make an attack and see if Ronald Mathau can get away from that. Fernando Mateos also now trying to run away from the back of Eli Cannon. Cannon gonna look to see if he can try and send the move up the inside of turn 1, but he's a little bit too far back to do it this time. But he's just gonna bide his time, see if he can get through turn 1 and turn 2 cleanly. Maybe get through the back of him into the going through turn 9 onto the DRS straight there. And if he can, there is a potential double move on for Ronald Mathau if the two keep battling in the way that they're going to do throughout this race. How come Katao is on the lead lap and Hall is +1? I am unsure of that one. I would have to hazard a guess. It will be something iRacing related. Katao is obviously... did have a disconnect, did lose a couple of laps on the guys in the under safety car, so I'm not sure why he's showing on the lead lap. Unfortunately, I don't have as much information as maybe a couple of other guys as to what the lap situation is like. But going back now to Fernando Mateos, Ronald Mathau and Eli Cannon, the trio at the moment, who seem to be the closest on track so far. Ronald Mathau currently in the back of the... currently on the back of the trio. But, hey, maybe this lap he can try and push. See if he can maybe make a move, but it looks like he's going to be a little bit too far back. But I don't think that's going to stop him, as Eli Cannon is going to once again be very close, within 0.2 of a second, going into turn 1, but unfortunately not able to make a move. But it does look like the car there, the number 2 car of Fernando Mateos, did make a little bit of a mistake through turn 3, but Eli not able to really commit to a move there. It would have been nice to see. Eli maybe stick it up the inside and force a mistake. But oh no, Eli did make a mistake there, coming out of the corner, a little bit too eager on the throttle, and did hit the wall. So potential damage on his car, as we can see on the wing there, on the right-hand side of his car. That is devastating for him in that Auriga Motorsports car to hit the wall again. P9. He was sitting. Lovely battling for that P8 spot, only dropped a position, which isn't going to be too bad. It's not going to affect him too much, but he may have to go into the pit lane here and let a couple of other guys through, like Cesar Cabral and maybe Sean Gurd behind him as well, who are definitely looking like they are going to try to battle with each other, try and help each other, maybe. to catch up to, again, the back of Ronald Mathau and Fernando Mateos, as Ronald is trying to get onto the back of him through the chicane here, into the final corner, flat out, as we all know. And is he going to be trying to maybe use DRS? Obviously, we only have 8 uses of it over the course of the race, and it looks like Ronald is trying to set up a run here up the inside. Is he going to be able to get the move done before the corner? It looks like he is, with an amazing straight line speed advantage coming across there before T1 and making the move look nice and easy. And I'll say, if Ronald can take moves like that, he's going to be taking them all day. There ain't going to be anybody stopping him, as he is definitely trying to now look to push away from Fernando Mateos in P number 9, and that would be something that Ronald's looking to do. Obviously drop 2 positions off the start. Louis Colon did currently gain 8. He is our current driver who is the biggest gain, as it were, from quite a few of the incidents that happened here at the start of the race. Carlos Quetal obviously being the one who dropped the most with that disconnect, 14 positions down. He's currently in P15, looking to try and make his way back up the grid. But it looks like Sean Gerd and Eli Cannon are going to start having a real tussle here as well, as Sean Gerd's trying to look for the move with maybe DRS. Is he going to be able to make the move on Eli? I think Eli maybe potentially gave that up and maybe lifted, let Sean Gerd through a little bit. And it does look like he has done. And Sean Gerd is now going to look to catch up towards the back of his teammate in P8, with Sean currently sat in P11. Looks like Sean may have had an issue there with potential off-track, maybe cutting the track a little bit, as he seemed to slow down there. And lost a little bit of time. There is a point for safest driver throughout the course of this race, as Eli is now into the pit lane, as I did think he was going to do at some point. Damage maybe being a bit too bad here, so he's going to come in, get that repaired, hopefully come back out and really start to try and push and catch up towards the back of a lot of these other guys, and hopefully bring his way back up, as he's probably going to exit around sort of 17th, 18th place and look towards to finish in the points here, top 10, if you can manage that. There is a, as I say, bonus points for fastest lap of the race, as it seems now there seems to be a bit of lull in action, although Buddy Boggs and Nick Marshall might be starting to go back at it, so I'll get to the bonus points later on. I'm gonna keep on board with this action between Buddy Boggs and Nick Marshall now, as Buddy Boggs for that Orion Racing team is going to look around turn 3. I don't think he's going to find any passing opportunities between turn 3 and turn 4, because, as I say, very short run on that straight towards turn 4, but it looks like there seemed to be a bit of an issue with Nick Marshall there. As has Nick Marshall also disconnected? What is going on with these drivers today? There seems to be a bunch of issues with disconnects, which is all very unfortunate. We've got Troy Banks out at the moment, but he might be back. No, he's out. Panic PvP is out. Carlton Hall is he racing? Yep, Carlton Hall is running at the moment, but he is listed as 1 lap down for the moment. Nick Marshall is out of the race, and Eli Cannon has been brought back in 17th after unfortunately hitting the wall there on the exiting turn 4. So he went in and pitted for a new front wing, a new car, maybe potentially using it as an excuse to change tyres and maybe refuel as well. Obviously, you do need to get that done throughout the course of the race. You do need to have a full tyre change, and you do need to have a refuel as part of the regulations here. 75% fuel tank, so even if you did fuel up all the way, you're probably still going to have to pit within sort of the final couple of laps. So that is something that we're going to be keeping an eye on throughout the course of the race. Did Hall reconnect after safety car was over? I'm not sure if he did. I don't think Hall had any issues with the... I don't think Hall had any disconnect issues, but I think he did have an incident where he did crash under safety car, so potentially pit and lost a couple laps that way. as we now get on board with this battle between Ronald Mathau and Seth Davidson, as Ronald Mathau is going to take the final corner flat and try to use the slipstream and maybe a little bit of DRS as well down the back straight. Is he going to be able to make any moves happen? And he's going to look towards the inside of that Lumos e-Motorsports car. And is he going to be able to make any moves here? It doesn't look like he is, but he is going to send it up the inside. That's a very brave move into P2. And oh no, he ends up overcooking it and spins a little bit there. Is that going to be able to let Cesar Cabral come through as well? It doesn't look like it did just yet, but that is one that we're going to have to keep an eye on just to make sure that no other incidents happen. But that does give Seth Davidson a bit of breathing room, as well as Cesar Cabral is now going to look towards potentially biting on that mistake from Mathau. As Mathau's tyres are going to be heating up, so he's going to have to take a couple laps to try and reset himself, reset those tyres and cool them down to make sure that he doesn't have any other further issues, as Mathau is just trying to get back in the groove after a spin like that. It's never easy. This seems to be the closest that we've got so far, as Corey Scharzer has pit very early here. I'm not sure whether or not that's going to be because of any issues. Oh, it does look like he did have an incident here, as we will jump on and see what happened here, going into turn number 5, I believe this is. And off camber corner, does he go slightly too wide? He's on the power too early, and that is going to be an unfortunate crash from him. That does push him into the wall, and that will be a reset of the car, maybe a fast repair used, and that's going to be setting him back a couple of minutes there as well from the tow. As we're now going to jump on board with Cesar Cabral to see if he can maybe make a move on Ronald Mathau. But it doesn't look like anything is going to happen between Cabral and Mathau. It looks like those three are all going to run pretty close. I'm not sure who that third driver is, but that could be potentially Carlton Hall. And indeed it is Carlton Hall in that white coat car, just trying to keep a little bit close, make sure that there's no issues. As Lewis Colon also had a bit of an issue there as well and got passed by a couple of drivers, as it looks like he's having a bit of an issue blinking as well. Does happen sometimes in iRacing that your packets do lose themselves a little bit, as we will jump back live here between Cesar Cabral and Ronald Mathau, just to see maybe if any of them can make a move. But it looks like he's a little bit too far back, and I think this is the part of the race where everyone's just sort of going to be sitting back, trying to breathe a little bit, try and just settle themselves in. As I say that, but Whiting goes and sets the fastest lap of the race. So Whiting is clearly pushing and trying to make the timings up. The difference obviously being around about 6.5 seconds-ish between him and Larson. That'll sort of be chopping and changing as they go through all the different sectors, but it'll be around about that 6 to 7 second mark. All of the drivers seeming to do a 1:32 race pace, with a couple of drivers pushing for that 1:31 lap time as well, with our fastest lap, as I say, being set by Corey Whiting. And while there is a little bit of lull in the action, I will go back to the point system. There is a point for fastest lap of the race, which is currently held by Corey Whiting. Points for top 10 in traditional F1 style, but there is also an inclusion of points for safest driver. So whoever finishes the race with the least amount of incident points is going to be eligible for the extra point. So that is potentially something that we are going to be looking at and talking about towards the end of this race. Not sure it's particularly relevant right now, obviously a long way to go. 16 laps done of this 42 lap race, so 30 minutes down, still a long way to go, especially with that safety car run that we did have, as I believe Seth Davidson may be getting caught here by Mathau and Cabral. So that's going to be something that we're going to have to look at, as Corey Scharzer has now left the pits as well, and he is back on track. Isaac Salas has also had a little bit of a mistake, and he's been found in the pit lane As who's that gone wide? Was that Seth Davidson? It was. Seth Davidson has made a mistake in the chicane there, and that has cost him 3 positions. He was really, really close to a couple of those drivers, and unfortunately they did all bite when the opportunity presented itself. And that does mean, unfortunately, now he has dropped from P number 6 all the way down to P9, which is devastating for him. It does mean that a few less points are going the way of Lumos, but Alex Gutknecht for the team is going to try and really push. And as I say, one of the stories that we've always been going to talk about throughout the course of this season is the battle between Lumos and Cuda. They've been giving it all the talk in the paddock, they've been giving it all the talk on the DMs and the socials, so we need to see who can hold their end of the bargain. And at the moment it does look like Kuda's just going to run away with this season. The gap between them, there's absolutely no one close by at all. They've got a 2-second gap between each other, but beyond that it looks like there's going to be quite the considerable margin beyond anyone else. And from the looks of it, it does look like Katao is starting to make his way back through the grid, which is always good to see. He did obviously disconnect and have a little bit of an issue there under the safety car, but didn't lose too much time. May need to look at that, and if he does finish in the points, we may need to look and see what was happening there. But at the moment, it does look like everyone is sort of just trying to settle in now. No big gaps as far as I can see. The gap between Cesar Cabral and Ronald Mathal staying within sort of about that second range. It seems like anybody who is close is staying very close, and it seems like everyone's sort of running the similar pace. A lot of these guys from sort of about 6th backwards, 33, sort of about the 1 minute 33 lap times, and it seems like the other guys with 132s, 131 lap times really trying to push those tires to the absolute limits, which may potentially cause some issues, as I have got word that potentially we have a brake issue for Seth Davidson here, which may have been the reason that he had his issue going into the chicane. But hopefully he can get that sorted out over the course of the race, and if he can, potentially maybe there's a move there to be made, as Carlton Hall has now made it past Steve Bunting as well, and he is continuing his charge up the field, which is always good to see. Carlos Gatau currently chilling in a little bit of race by himself at the moment, sort of just plodding along at that 1 minute 31 pace, which I say plodding along, that's one of the fastest drivers we've got at the moment. But it looks like Cesar Cabral was trying to make a move there through the chicane, but nothing going on this time round. However, he does seem to get a good run. Is he going to be able to get a good run out of the final corner? Because if he can, I need to take a drink, because there may be a move on here, folks. Quick drink, and Cesar Cabral's now going to look for the inside line going into turn 1. Is he going to be able to get it done? And again, this turn 1, very good overtaking opportunity. Does he send it in too deep? It looks like he's alright. He's going to have to park it on the apex and give Ronald Mathal nowhere to go through the edge of that corner. Through turn 3, Mathal's going to have all that dirty air pushing him towards the outside of the circuit, so he's probably not going to be able to come back through turn 4, but he is going to be quite close in the braking zones under turn 4, and it looks like, for some reason, Cabral there, not necessarily as confident through turn 4 as Ronald is, but Ronald trying his very best to keep on the back and maybe try and make a move through the next couple of corners. You're not going to make a move here, but he's going to try and set it up. He's going to try and keep as close as he can without the dirty air affecting him through this very fast right-hander, because this is where the move needs to happen if he's going to get it done on this lap, and he's going to be trying to make the run. Is he going to be able to send it into the hairpin? It doesn't look like he is. He's a little bit too far back, so he's going to look to do the same thing that Caesar did to him, and he's going to be doing that back on the next lap. He's going to be looking down that start-finish straight, maybe trying to look all the way to the inside, but he needs to get a good run through the chicane, needs to get a good run through these final couple of corners, and it looks like the gap is nowhere near as close as it was when Caesar made the move, but Caesar did get it done before the end of that start-finish straight. But unfortunately, with Ronald hitting that sausage curb, it looks like the move is not on. However, with DRS, with the slipstream, it does look like he is managing to keep closer. He is gaining, but unfortunately not able to Not able to really get close enough, as there's now a little bit of a second gap between these two, and these two have been going all race so far. From lap 1 all the way to lap 20. These two have been going at it, and I'm excited for that one. I think this is going to be causing the race to really spice up as we start maybe getting some traffic involved as well. That could potentially cause some other issues. As I have seen that Carlos Quetawa's had a little bit of an incident. Let's jump back and see what happened here going through the final corners. So going through, hits the apex quite nice, and going into the final chicane, oh, just hits the sausage curb and has a little bit of a spin. Oh, that is so unfortunate. That seems to happen quite often there. If you misjudge the corner, turning a little bit too early, and the sausage curb will claim you. Doesn't seem to have affected his race particularly too much, but just a little bit of a setback, I think, for now, as we will jump back on with Ronald Matheau, see if he can make any moves, as Alex Gutknecht has pitted for his first pit stop. And I believe this is sort of the time where we will see a couple people coming in. We'll see them starting to go into the pits and maybe start to really show that strategy side of it now, and see whether or not they can maybe pit early. Maybe, yes, they'll be caught in traffic, but if they can maybe find a gap where they can run in clean air, get out in a bit of space, as let's jump on board with Gutknecht actually and see where he ends up, because if he can maybe get some clean air, he might be able to have a really, really good run, a good couple of laps with no one around him, as it does look like he's not going to be able to get out ahead of Sean Gerd, which is going to be quite unfortunate for him, as Carlos Quetawa is also behind him. But what that does mean is Alex Gutknecht potentially on fresh rubber, potentially with a refueled car, may have to take a lap or two just to warm them up, but once he has, he's going to be looking to really push that car to its limits and maybe get past Sean Gerd and start catching back up to where he came out from with the pit stops. And let's take a look, actually, see how much time he did spend here in the pit lane. As we will take a look at the stint lengths so far, it does look like a couple of people have changed tyres here. Matheau, Cabral and Colon all had that early pit stop. It does look like from when the incidents happened. It does look like, aside from that, it doesn't look like anything is particularly going on too bad between all the different drivers, as we will take a look at a bit of a lap time graphic here just to see what the pace differences are between a couple of these drivers, and seeing whether we can figure out whether or not Quetawa can maybe make his way back into the race, as Quetawa seems to be lapping a bit quicker than Gutknecht at the moment, but obviously with his spin, that's where that 8-second loss has come from. So Quetawa potentially would have been on the back end of Gutknecht coming out of the pit lane, but with that little bit of a spin, it does mean he needs to work that little bit harder now to try and really catch up, as Corey Whiting is making a push, sets the fastest lap of the race so far, a 1:31.3. No real super close battles, as Sean Gerd is actually on the close. He's actually pretty damn close to Mateos. He might be able to get onto the back of Mateos going through turn number 8. The right-hand sweeper, potentially maybe make a move through the hairpin, but if not, then he's going to try and set it up to run it onto the start-finish straight. And if he can get that run on the start-finish straight, we've seen how difficult that is. We've seen how easy it is to make a move on the start-finish straight. We've seen how difficult it is to defend, as it does look like Chris Byram has also pitted. Where did he come out? He came out in 5th place as well. So he pitted 2 laps ago on lap 21, and he is currently looking to try and really push his time. He spent 34 seconds in the pit lane, 9 seconds of that was stationary, and oh no, Lewis Colon has ended up hitting the wall. The pressure from Chris Byram doing a bit too much there, and that does mean that his front wing is gone as well. He's going to have to come in and repair that car. He can't race on like that. His car is going to be wrecked for the rest of that lap, so he may potentially stop it on the side of the track and return back to the pits via an escape, which it does look like he did do. Alex Gutneck now looking on the back of Sean Gerd going through turn 3. He's going to be able to make a move through turn 4. He's not going to think about it, a little bit too far back, but let's see what he can do. Sean Gerd definitely looking like he is going to hold the position for now. As I say, very difficult to overtake in this middle sector, but middle sector of Barcelona is very much a place where you can take a little bit of a breather from the guy behind you, but not too much, because if you do give the opportunity like this, Alex may be able to strike here going through the fast right sweeper. If he can hold this, he might be able to get on the inside, which will turn towards the outside of the corner. He's going to try and look towards the inside. Is he going to be able to make a move? He thinks about it, but he's going to try and send it up the inside, and there's been contact between the two drivers. Alex Gutnecht has managed to make contact with Sean Gerd, and Sean Gerd did end up having a little bit of a mistake, but it seems like there was a couple of other drivers there also having a little bit of an issue. I'm not sure which drivers those were. I think it was Mateos also had a bit of an issue and pushed himself out as well. There was a couple of drivers that looked like they were having a little bit of a spin through the apex there of the hairpin, but that does promote Alex Gutneck now up into 7th place, with Seth Davidson coming into the pit lane on that lap as well. Buddy Boggs also in for the pits, and Lewis Colon, as we mentioned earlier, coming in for the pits after that issue that he had. So it looks like this is sort of when we're going to see a lot of people coming in for the pits. It's looking like this will be the sort of time where we'll see all these people start to pit and really push the car now for the rest of the race, as Fernando Mateos still on the back of Alex Gutnecht, but maybe not able to make too much of an issue in that lovely HP Williams livery there. That definitely does look nice, that car, but Beauchamp has set a personal best of a 131.5 as well, as Larson has now come into the pit lane. So interesting to see whether or not Chris Byram can maybe overtake him before he comes out. However, it does look like you do lose a lot of time here in the pit lane, so that will probably be a position gained for Chris Byram back up into P3. And that is a confirmation that yes, that has happened. Frederick Larson still sat there stationary in the pit lane for 11 seconds, so quite a long time, and that does enable Cesar Cabral also to get past, and also Ronald Mathau as well. So Frederick Larson seems to lose quite a bit of positions to people who potentially he is quicker than, and he will have to try and now battle to try and really get onto the back of them, as Fernando Mateos is now coming into the pits. As I say, this will be when we'll see a lot of people coming in. Ivan Beauchamp, I wouldn't be surprised if he comes in next lap, but here we are on board with Carlos Catal. Seeing whether or not he can catch up to the back of Sean Gerd and make another position through this race. He was down in P19 at one point as well, so he is looking to try and make sure he can finish in first place, but he may have to do a very late pit here, depending on how the fuel works out for these drivers. So that is Ronald Mathau has also had an incident. I don't know what happened there, but there seems to be an Orega car, and Ronald Mathau have crashed, and there is another yellow flag thrown. Is that going to be a safety car, or is that just going to be a yellow flag? Unfortunately, Ronald Mathau's front wing is also gone, so I'm not sure which car that was that got involved. Potentially a back marker here, as Sean Gerd and Carlos Catal are definitely racing like they are still gunning for it. Carlos Catal is slowing down a little bit here, so it does look like there is potentially a safety car, which if there is a safety car on the way, that may give the advantage to Ivan Beauchamp and Corey Whiting, and give them effectively a free stop under the safety car, which will move him quite far up the grid in terms of positions, and potentially may mean that Chris Byram may not have an advantage anymore over the gap. Remember, it was 5 seconds between Ivan Beauchamp and Corey Whiting that now has dropped to 2 seconds, so there was a lot of time difference between Ivan Beauchamp and Corey Whiting that Corey seemed to have been able to eat into. And then the difference between Chris Byram and Ivan Bovekamp was also 2 seconds. So the fact that now there is this safety car potentially could mean that Ronald Mathau may get a free stop here. Obviously, with the safety car, it means that people can't overtake him yet. Although it doesn't look like there has been any safety car. Nope, there it is. So there is the safety car. Ivan Bovekamp and Corey Whiting are now lined up for the safety car. So it has collected our leaders, and Chris Byram is doing some tyre warming while trying to catch up to the back, along with Cesar Cabral, Frederick Larson, and who is that on the back? That would be Carlton Hall there on the back of Frederick Larson, who is a back marker. So potentially the back markers are going to cause a little bit of chaos on the safety car restart. That's something to keep in mind, as Ronald Mathau still isn't pitting just yet. Unsure on whether you can pit under safety car with these regulations, but we'll see if he pits this time by, which he does not. So potentially you may have a closed pit lane here throughout the... you may actually have a closed pit lane under safety car, which will mean that actually in theory Ivan Bovekamp and Corey Whiting are not going to gain under the safety car here, and potentially on the fuel situation they may be forced into taking a penalty and coming in to refuel. Alright, I think I can take a little bit more of a drink now. This race has been absolutely crazy so far. Absolutely mental. Hope everyone is very much enjoying the action and enjoying the commentary as well. First time for a long time I'm in the comms box, so always nice to get back out here and give you guys a show as well. You guys are all here enjoying the community. Obviously, if you are enjoying, would absolutely love to see some likes being thrown the way for the stream. And let me know where you're watching from in the comments as well. Always love to see that we have a global audience here at the iFormula League. As I will take a drink. I will very much take a drink. Oh. Gotta make sure that when you're taking a drink that getting all of the space there. So let's see whether or not Ivan Bovekamp does come into the pit lane this time by. If he does, potentially pit lane is open. And it does look like he does, so Ivan Bovekamp and Corey Whiting are both coming in to the pit lane. This is actually going to give them quite a significant advantage, I feel. Pitting under safety car, they may not lose too much time towards the others in the field, which may end up being a pure masterclass from them, as Ronald Mathau is also in, Sean Gurd is in as well, Carlton Hall is in for his pit stops. A lot of people are going to be changing around on the timing screens, so a lot of people are in, a lot of people are switching and changing, as we do have a couple of drivers out. We do have Buddy Boggs is out of the race, Lewis Colon is also out of the race with his teammate Corey Schatzer out of the race as well. Isaac Salas is out, Panic PvP2 is also out of the race with Troy Banks also out, and I believe not really making the start, retired on lap 6 there, which was just after the safety car restart for the first lap. Total global audience, Lithuania watching, very nice, very nice. Always excited to see people from Lithuania joining us, as Corey Whiting is out of the pit lane here, and Ronald Mathau is still in. Probably going to be quite a lengthy repair for that car, as the back is also off, so potentially that could be quite a massive issue that ends up causing that car to potentially lose quite a few laps here. But under safety car, he may not lose too much time, so nice time to do it. But as I say, the CUDA cars at the moment, Chris Byram in P1. And where did Ivan come out? So Ivan Bovekamp came out in P9 with Corey Whiting also in P10. And as much as I wanted to say that they were going to gain an advantage with the safety car, it looks like the safety car has actually done the opposite of what they wanted, as we are 7 laps over halfway as well of this race. This race does have a time limit of 2 hours and 30, so in theory the race can go on that long, but I can't imagine that it will if the race goes green from here on out. But I do believe that Ronald Mathau will get back into the race. I can't imagine that he will give up just yet. As I say, depending on where he comes out, he may actually be able to fight for points, which will all be very interesting to see. But it does look like the unfortunate safety car, I think, in some ways, for Ivan Bovekamp and Corey Whiting. Yes, they'll be on fresher tyres, so they will be able to push a little bit harder. But I think if they were able to pit when the yellow flag came out, then they would have gained a lot more time than they have. Obviously not having to be stuck behind the safety car and let everyone else catch up to then effectively get a free pass would have been a lot easier. Come to Lithuania for some good drinks before tomorrow's race. I might have to take you up on that offer. As I say, I'm only commentating, so I'm gonna love that. But it does look like Mathau has officially retired. I don't think he will be back in the race, unfortunately. He has exited out of the race. So, unfortunately, with that issue that he had, that spin into the wall, the front wing damage, getting caught up in a couple of other incidents that weren't his fault, he has officially retired. So, Ronald Mathau is out along with a couple of other drivers. That does look like now that will leave us with 14 drivers left in this race from a start of 21. So we have lost, if we say 14 drivers, so we have lost 7 drivers, unfortunately, from various issues. A couple of disconnects. There has been a couple of disconnects, but there has also been a couple of other drivers who have had another couple of issues with damage as well. But going back on to Byram, as the lights on the safety car are out. So what that does mean is we're going to be going racing this lap. On lap number 30, 12 laps to go. Can Chris Byram hold on to first place from Frederick Larson? If he can, this will be a amazing race from Chris Byram. This would have been a masterclass in strategy, pitting earlier than the others to make sure that the safety cars don't affect him, but also really pushing on those tires, really making sure that he can make the most of what's going to come, as he will lead the field away for the second time actually in this race. He didn't start in pole position. That was Carlos Cattal, who is back up to 4th after the pit stops, by the way. So Carlos Cattal has gone from 1st to 19th and back up to 4th again. So amazing drive from him to get as far up the grid as he is now in that number 11 car. And then Alex Gutknecht, currently sat in P3, has done his pit stop, but potentially Carlos Cattal might have to do another one depending on how fuel is for his car. So we'll have to keep an eye on that one, because Carlos Cattal is also going to want to win this race. He is going to want to win, as he should have done, from pole position. But if there's anyone that can stop him, it's this man on pole position, Chris Byram. As I'm going to jump on to the back, and we'll take a look at the cars as they all come careening down. And potentially Frederick Larson is going to have to make a move into the first corner. So we'll see whether or not Chris Byram can hold on Remember, Chris Byram will be the pace setter when the safety car gets underway, so we'll see when he goes. And Chris Byram is holding. He's holding. Is he going to be going on the exit of this corner? As Frederick is trying to get up alongside him. It is a single file safety car restart, and just as Frederick does leave, Chris Byram gets the gun and goes. He is trying to make sure that he has absolutely no chance for Frederick to try and defend, as now Frederick's going to have to look to defend as well. Up the inside of turn 1, Alex tries to look for the move but doesn't get anything done. Is anyone else looking for moves as well? Sean Gurd, there looks to be like a gaggle of cars all trying to make moves on each other through the first corner there. There were 4 cars all double file going into the turn 1, as turn 3 is also chaos here with cars all over the road, some in the middle, some on the inside, some on the outside, all trying to make room for each other. Are they all going to be able to make it through? As now we're looking at Sean Gurd, and there's potentially a move with Corey Whiting up the inside. This is going to turn to the outside of turn number 5 here, as Sean Gurd was also going to try and look for the move on Cesar Cabral, and Cesar Cabral is having to look both at head and behind and try and make sure that he can make some moves, but he's now going to try and settle in. But that Orega car here definitely causing some issues, as he seems to be a little bit slower, so making sure that Cesar Cabral is having to really look in his mirrors, and Cesar's probably going to be looking at that car after the race and very much yelling the Sebastian Vettel blue flag song here through the radio, as Corey Whiting is now going to try and look to maybe take advantage of that, as we do have Carlton Hall and Steve Bunting all together here, and Eli Cannon might have to try and defend here up the inside, but Carlton Hall's not going to make any moves here. Would be a little bit dangerous to do so. He's going to wait for the start, finish straight, and if he does, he's going to try and look for a move up the inside. But enough of that, let's take a look at what's going on here with Carlos Gattal and Frederick Larson, and Carlos Gattal does make the move around the outside of Frederick Larson. Larson, for some reason, seeming to just let Carlos Gattal go, and I don't know whether or not that was a decision that was made from Larson, knowing that Gattal was a little bit quicker, or whether or not Gattal just really did send it up the inside there and just didn't make it stick. But now that does mean that Carlos Gattal is going to now really start to push and try and get onto the back of Chris Byram, and this start has been absolutely crazy for Gattal. He's gone from P4 up to P2, and he's now going to hunt for the lead of this race. But let's not get too worried away with that one, because the CUDA driver of Even Bovkamp, who started in P9, has made his way all the way up to P5 off of that restart, which is an absolutely insane drive. We haven't been able to catch all of it, but there was a lot of chaos, so potentially Ivan just got the better of it, and here we are with the Lumos CUDA rivalry between Alex Gutnet and Ivan Bovkamp, and the team owners are going to be looking on at this one. Well, potentially looking on at this one with Chris Byram obviously leading the race, but they're going to be looking at this one with massive interest, and I'm sure Ivan Bovkamp and Chris Byram are talking right now, and Ivan's trying to say if he can give any advice to Alex Gutnecht, now is the time to do it, as Ivan's trying to make sure that he can keep up with what Byram's doing, and try and really pull out a gap between that other Lumos car, because the Lumos cars and the CUDA cars have had a historic rivalry here for the first 2 seasons of the IFL. And just as I thought my voice was getting back to it, it's died again. So Carlos Gattal has set the fastest lap of the race so far with a 1:31.18. That is 0.2 quicker than anyone else on this grid so far, and that, of course, second place fastest lap would be with Chris Byram. So Carlos Gattal is definitely looking to make every single move he can and really push Chris Byram to the absolute limits. And I'll tell you what, had Carlos Gattal not had his mistakes, had he not had any issues, he may have been leading this race by a significant margin. I think this driver is the one to look out for. throughout the season. I think he's the one that we're going to be looking at to upset the CUDA drivers and to potentially spice this championship up a little bit, as we now see Alex Gutnecht a little bit closer, but not too far, as he's going to be coming through the chicane now into the final corner, trying to avoid that sausage curb on the right hand side, and Byram immediately answers back with Kittal's fastest lap and goes even quicker, doing a 1:31.16, which leaves 0.02 of a second difference between those two drivers. That is absolutely crazy. The lap times are so rapid between all these drivers right now, as they've all pit for fresh rubber and they're all going to be gunning flat out towards the end of this race. This isn't a 42 lap endurance anymore. This is a 10 lap sprint race, and every driver knows it. Alex Gutnecht knows it. He's going to be trying to overtake Ivan Bovekamp. Seth Davidson knows it. He's also going to be trying to hold on Ivan Bovekamp as well. And keep in mind, this CUDA driver is currently in a Lumos sandwich, which does mean that CUDA will be ahead on points going through the championship. Ivan Bovekamp and Chris Byram will take a bigger points haul here, and I believe they will be also leading the championship by a significant margin over, I believe, Lumos, who would be second place. And it does look like Ivan Bovekamp is trying to look for the move up the inside of Seth Davidson. Doesn't get anything doing there, but Alex Gutnecht might be able to maybe make a move here on Ivan Bovekamp as well. I think he's calling for Seth Davidson to potentially hold him up, because Seth is going really defensive. He's trying to make sure there is lots and lots of issues here. And oh no, they touch. It looks like all three of those drivers have all had issues, and that does put Seth Davidson and Alex Gutnecht That's put Alex Gutnecht out further, and that causes yet another yellow flag. Ivan Bovekamp causing an issue there with Seth Davidson, and Seth Davidson has lost his front wing as well. Oh no, that is devastating for the Lumos esports driver. Is he going to be able to get in the pit lane before the pit lane closes? And I think he just about did. So that has caused the Lumos esports drivers to lose massively in that situation, and the CUDA guys are going to be very, very cross. I imagine Chris Byram's face right now, he's looking like Toto Wolff after the incidents that Max and Hamilton have had throughout their seasons. Ivan Bovekamp has lost so many positions because of that incident between Ivan Bovekamp and Seth Davidson, and that is going to really shake things up now, as that's also going to mean that Carlos Kittal is going to be on the back of Chris Byram as well. This may have cost CUDA the championship. This may have cost CUDA the win of this race, and Orega may take the first win of the season because of an issue that has enabled now Seth Davidson to that's allowed, sorry, the Lumos car of Alex Gutnecht to gain a couple more positions, but obviously Seth has been the biggest loser out of those three incidents. But this has now very much spiced things up here with 7 laps to go. And I'll tell you what, if Chris Byram loses the lead of this race to Carlos Kittal, I think there is going to be chaos to follow. I'm not looking forward to the paddock after this race, put it that way. I think there's going to be a few choice words. I think there's going to be some sparks flying between the Lumos and the CUDA guys. I know they said they wanted to spice up the championship a little bit, but I think that may have been the wrong way to do it. I think that may have potentially been the wrong way to do it. But with a potential 2 to 3 lap safety car, that will mean that we will have only 5 laps to go of the race. 5 laps for Carlos Kittal to try and find his way past Chris Byram. 5 laps to go for Frederick Larson to maybe cause an upset as well. We know he's quick. We know that Larson is quick and can potentially cause an upset here. But I think the big story of this race is going to be CUDA versus Lumos. I think that is going to be the biggest story of this race so far. Seth Davidson trying to be a good teammate and hold up Ivan Bovekamp, but Unfortunately, Ivan Bovkamp being a little bit too eager to try and make his way past, but Seth Davidson maybe also holding up a little bit too much. It's all very up in the air as to what that's going to be, but that may be looked back at throughout this season as a controversial turning point. Yes, it is the first race of the season. Yes, there is still a long way to go, but every point counts, and potentially that could be the difference between the championship victory for Lumos or the championship victory for Cuda. And well, this makes everything a little bit more exciting, doesn't it? Right, I need to get my voice relaxed for the last couple of laps, because this is gonna be a corker. This is going to be a corker. Let's take a look, actually, back at the incident between the drivers, and let's see what happened here. So Seth Davidson, coming around the chicane, does go a little bit slowly, and does try to make sure that there is enough room, but Ivan Bovkamp trying to look up the inside, and you're not really going to find it there. Let's take a look on board of Ivan Bovkamp and see what happened from his point of view. So Ivan Bovkamp here, it seems like Seth gets a really bad run and does leave the door open, but I don't know. That's a very tough one to call, and I think that's going to be looked at for sure, as that did really affect Ivan Bovkamp's race. Obviously now having quite the incident and pushing him down a little bit further than he otherwise would be. But as I say, it's gonna be definitely looked at, and I wouldn't be surprised to see that be a talking point for the next couple of weeks. Bovkamp was... I think Bovkamp was driving how he should have been. I think Davidson was trying to do the teammate strategy and unfortunately did a little bit too much good charity work. Obviously wanted to try and back him up into Gutneck so Gutneck can get a really good run out of the chicane, really good run out the final corner and make the move. And that's exactly right, I wouldn't want to be a steward either. This race has been absolute chaos. But that's going to be a theme going forward, I think. And I'm going to be interested in seeing what the teams say after this race. Obviously, the top three I will interview, get their thoughts on the race, see what they enjoyed, see what they didn't. We will do a post-race talk with the three drivers, see what happens. If any of the Lumos guys can potentially finish P3, we might potentially get an interview with the Lumos guys and see what happened there. But definitely interesting to talk with Byram, obviously being a CUDA driver. He's going to have a view on the incident, I think. He'll probably know about it. He probably would have been talking about it. But, this race has been something. This race has been something. Alright. How are the lights on the safety car? So the lights on the safety car still on so far. So we are going to get one more lap of safety car, which will be a 37. This will be a start of, 5 laps left. Will be an exciting finish, as expected, in this F2 season. Opening round of the iFormula Season 3, and I couldn't have thought of a better race to open the round with. This has probably been one of the most exciting opening rounds of a season that we will ever see. And you know, it's one of those situations where 5 laps to go. Again, we don't know what the situation with Carlos Ghosn is like, whether or not he has pit for tyres and pit for fuel in the way that you are supposed to. If he has, and he does have enough fuel to make it to the end, then that will be obviously something that we are going to look at. So let's see, can we see... we see who's that just blitzed past. I think potentially there's a couple of drivers that got let past here under safety car. So there's a couple of drivers that have been let past under safety car rulings. Similar to the lucky dog rule in NASCAR, and all of you oval people might recognise. So anyone 1 lap down will get their lap back. Potentially the guy who was potentially Marshall may have also got another lap back as well. But they will need to get back. They will need to catch up to the back of this field by the end of this lap, because the safety car lights are off. The safety car lights are off, which does mean we will be going green this time by. And we're going to have a 5-lap shootout. Oh, I'm trying to save my voice because I know I'm going to be doing a lot for the last 5 laps. These top 3 is what we're going to focus on, but we do also need to keep an eye on Ivan Bovekamp and Alex Gutnecht. Obviously P5 and P7 right now respectively, but we need to take a look at them, see where they can finish, because after that incident they will they'll be gunning to try and remake any positions that they lost. Obviously with Alex Gutnecht not able to was able to make up a few positions with the collisions that happened. But we will go on board with Fredrik Larsen, I think, for the start here, to see whether or not Larsen can make a move on Carlos Ghosn, and whether or not Chris Byron can get the jump on Carlos Ghosn as well. Now, they're all going to back up the field a little bit. Chris Byron's not going to go just yet. He's going to back up the field, bunch them all up, and when the safety car comes in, you'll see Chris Byron put the foot to the floor and gun it. Chris Byron setting the pace, and he goes, and so does Carlos Ghosn and Fredrik Larsen, and here we go for the final couple of laps of round number 1 here at Barcelona, and Fredrik Larsen and Carlos Ghosn not quite close enough there, but Alex Gutnecht, Corey Whiting's looking up the inside of Alex Gutnecht, and they touch, but Alex Gutnecht seems to be able to get away with that one, but Corey Whiting unfortunately does not. That does mean that Corey Whiting has made the mistake, and he has paid for it, as Fernando Mateus is also going to try and look up the inside of Sean Gurd on this turn 4, but he's not going to be close enough, so he's just going to sit back and he's going to wait. Is he going to be able to make much more of a move? I'm not sure if he is, but Seth Davidson's going to look on the back of Carlton Hall now as well and see if he can make a move on that number 15 car, as we're now going to go back to Fredrik Larsen and see what the gap's looking like here. A second gap already, so it does look like that jump from Byram has enabled himself to really start to extend the gap as we're going to see Carlton Hall try and look down the inside of Fernando Mateus. Is he going to be able to make the move work under braking? He's still there up the inside. He might get a bit of a worse run out of the corner, but he does manage to get past, and that is an amazing move from Carlton Hall to make it past the inside there of Fernando Mateus and gain himself a couple more championship points, which is going to be ever so important in the first round of the championship. And Ivan Bovkamp and Alex Goodnecht are on the back of each other now as well. Here we go. This is what we wanted to see. Ivan Bovkamp and Alex Goodnecht battling it out for 5th position, but you wouldn't think it with the way that they're battling, and Larsson's also now being caught by Cesar Cabral, so maybe had a mistake as well, so that's going to be some sort of issue there, as we're going to go back onto Ivan Bovkamp and Alex Goodnecht as they are looking to try and maybe catch up to the back of each other and really start to push each other through the rest of this race. 39 laps down. We are 3 more laps to go. Ivan Bovkamp, Alex Goodnecht racing for P5, and if they're not careful, Sean Gurd and Carlton Hall are also going to be all the way on the back of them as well. And it looks like Cesar Cabral has also lost a bit of time there as well, because Alex Goodnecht has now managed to catch up to him as well, and that's going to cause some sort of issue, I can imagine. But all eyes on this battle for second place, as well as battle for third place, as Cesar Cabral is caught up to the back of Larsson, and it looks like the gaps have slowly extended between Barham and Catal. Now only a second gap, but enough to really affect these cars and give each other that really nice slipstream, as Carlton Hall's going to look to maybe make a move on Sean Gurd. We've seen moves being made here before, but you try not to see it this time round. Is he going to be able to just hold on through the final corner? He looks like he does. Flat out, obviously, through that corner. And is Sean Gurd going to be able to hold off Carlton Hall as they go down this back straight? Obviously, the slipstream is going to be massive here down the start-finish straight, but it's not quite enough, as potentially DRS being used to defend there from Sean Gurd. Obviously, I don't know how much DRS usage these guys have left. They only had 8 uses of it, but it looks like he was trying to make a look up the inside and didn't get it. And Corey Whiting has set the fastest lap of the race with a 1:30.9. That is a 10th quicker than Chris Byram has managed so far. So Corey Whiting is potentially taking home a fastest lap point away from Kuda, who could end up being the championship standings winners, as Carlton Hall looks around the outside of turn number 5. Is he going to be able to make the move stick? And it looks like he is, but Sean Gurd's going to try and look up the inside, but thinks better of it. Thankfully, you're not going to make a move there, as now turn 8 looms. If he can make a good run here, he might be able to look up the inside of the... He might be able to make it look up the inside of the hairpin, but it needs to be close. He needs to be close. But speaking of close, Ivan Bovkamp and Alex Goodnecht once again trying to get on the back of each other. Ivan Bovkamp getting a little bit of a bad exit there out of the hairpin. As we go into the final corners of this lap, if Ivan Bovkamp can keep close through the chicane, if he can keep close through the final couple of corners, he may be able to make a move down the start-finish straight. And I did just notice Ivan Bovkamp's wing, that front wing, does look a little bit bent. It does look a little bit damaged, but also the same for Alex Goodnecht. And now here we go, down the start-finish straight. Ivan Bovkamp trying to absolutely tow his way past Alex Goodnecht, but he's not going to be close enough this time by to make a move through T1, but he is going to try and set it up throughout the rest of this race. The laps are running out. We've done 40 laps of this circuit. 41 will be our next lap by, so we've got 2 laps left. He is going to really need every single bit of performance out of this car as he tries to look at the inside, but nothing doing there. I think it's just a look just to say, hey, I'm here, and if you make a mistake, I'm going to get past you. Carlton Hall also now managing to catch up as these two keep battling, which could cause even more issues, as Carlton Hall is going to try and potentially upset the Kuda and the Lumos guys. And I will say, this race is absolutely crazy for the last couple of laps. These three are going to be all guns blazing. Carlton Hall's going to make a really good run here out of the left right-hand sweeper even. Car number 15 looking to try and make a move, but he's going to think better of it. But Ivan Bovkamp sends it up the inside. Are they going to touch? They don't. But Ivan Bovkamp, although it looks like a little bit of wheel banging, and Ivan Bovkamp does make the move past Goodnecht. And Goodnecht did have to give that one up the inside when Ivan Bovkamp threw that very tight corner, but now Alex Gutknecht is going to have slipstream. He is going to have an advantage down that back straight as we go on to the final lap of the race, and Gutknecht's pitting. Gutknecht is pitting. He may have not calculated fuel correctly. He's pitting. That is devastating for Gutknecht. That means that Gutknecht is going from P6 down to P11. And Corey Whiting has set another fastest lap of the race as well. So Corey Whiting potentially taking the fastest lap of the race and managing to get himself up into P10 for the points. As we're now going to have a look between Carlton Hall and Ivan Bovekamp. Carlton Hall also wants to gain more positions. He gained one by Gutknecht pitting, but it does look like Gutknecht wasn't in the pit lane for very long. But it was just enough to lose him a couple of positions there, as he's now down to P11 from P5. Which is not what you're going to be wanting, as Carlos Gatau is also managing now to draw some pressure from Larson and also Carlos Cabral. So, Cesar Cabral. As we're now going to look for Cesar Cabral to try and maybe make an upset. Cesar Cabral to try and maybe push his way into P3 of this race, into the final lap of this race. Is Chris Byram going to come home and win the Barcelona Grand Prix, the Spanish Grand Prix? Call it whatever you want. We're coming through the final corner, and is Chris Byram going to run out of fuel, or is he going to be able to make it? It looks like he is going to manage to come home to win the Spanish Grand Prix. Carlos Gatau finishing second with Larson very close there through the final couple of corners to finish P3 that rounds up our grid. Carlos Cabral finishing in P4 with Ivan Bovekamp finishing in P5. As it looks like there was an issue for Carlton Hall as well, as he loses a position to Sean Gurd on the last lap. Oh no, that is devastating for Carlton Hall. The final lap, and Carlton Hall loses another position to Sean Gurd. That moves Sean Gurd up into P6. Oh my god, I am losing it. Fernando Mateus finishes P8, Seth Davidson P9, Alex Gutknecht P10 for the Lumos guys. The Lumos guys are going to have some words after that race, because that was very unfortunate from them, as Eli Canning, Steph Bunting and Nick Marshall round out our grid. What a race. What a race. That was insane. Whew. Whew. I need a bit of time to recover from that one. Bloomin' heck. Alrighty then. What an opening round. What an opening round. As we're now going to bring it to the results. The full results here from the race. That's from qualifying. We're going to look at the race results. As we see Chris Byram, the winner for that CUDA Works team. 1.5 seconds the gap to Carlos Gatau, with Frederick Larson wrapping up your top three. And P14 was the last of the finishers. Ronald Mathal unfortunately having an issue there. But I think we should get ourselves in some interviews for the top three, as I want to be talking to these drivers, because that was a crazy, crazy, crazy race. That race was insane. So I'm going to see if we can get in Chris Byram here into the broadcast booth. And if we can, we will get an interview, obviously, with our race winner, Chris Byram. Hello, Chris.
How you doing?
Mate, my voice is gone. That was an insane race.
It was pretty intense, wasn't it?
That was insane, but how did you feel after that race? Obviously taking the first round of the championship here at the Spanish Grand Prix.
Dude, baby, always on top.
Now, obviously, you and Alex going at it a little bit in the paddock. Obviously showing that CUDA are on top, but what we also saw on track, I'm not sure if you were aware, but we did also see a little bit of an issue there between Gutknecht, Davidson and Bovekamp as well.
Yep.
what are your takes on that? Is there anything you wanna share? Obviously.
I wasn't aware of what happened. I mean, obviously, Ivan's in my Discord chat, so I was aware that something sort of went down. Not too sure what happened. We'll have to sort of look back at the footage. But in terms of their pace, I mean, they all had pretty good pace, Ivan included. He just went a little bit too long on his pit stop to sort of make the most of it because I don't think either of us anticipated more than one safety car. So it sort of put him on the back foot a little bit. So when you have that and then you find yourself sort of mid-pack, you're always at risk, aren't you, unless you're sort of on the first row.
Yeah, exactly. It's obviously the issues. I mean, safety cars you can't predict, obviously. So the safety car did cause a bit of a chaotic restart. Obviously, you led 2 of those safety car restarts. And I must admit, on those safety car restarts, you did manage to get the jump on both Larson and Catal. Were either of those drivers causing you too much of an issue as well, or did you seem to have the pace above those?
Well, I mean, Carlos, he disconnected after, 2 laps, was it, under the safety car? So his recovery drive is absolutely incredible, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Obviously, the safety cars have helped him come back. But I mean, I do have sort of fastest laps and last laps come up on my screen, and I was mindful that he was sort of on a very, very similar pace. So I just thought on the restart, I need to try and get a jump. Luckily, I had a couple of DRSs left just to sort of eke out a bit of a gap, and I just thought if I can keep that above 1 second, maybe you won't get in my slipstream. And I tried a little bit of weaver on the straight as well. But I was a bit concerned that Carlos was behind me at the end because obviously his qualifying pace was very, very good.
Yeah.
And his race pace too. So I wouldn't say I'm lucky to come out on top, but you know what I mean. I definitely felt the pressure, and glad I took the first win.
Well, congratulations as always, mate. Top step of the podium. It's a full 25 points there as well, as unfortunately not the fastest lap though.
Who got the fastest lap? Was that Carlos, was it, or?
So Corey Whiting actually ended up getting the fastest lap of the race with a 1:30.86. So you were just a 10th off, unfortunately, there at the end of the race.
Yeah, it's a shame. I think I might get the point for safest driver though. So fingers crossed on that. Even though I did have an off track on the walk cool down lap, so I'll have to let admin know.
Okay. All right. Well, cheers, buddy. Thank you very much.
Take care. Thanks very much.
Yep. See you later, mate. All right, we're going to get in Carlos Catal now here as well. Get him in, get an interview for P2. Carlos, amazing recovery drive there from you, mate.
Yeah, pretty lucky as well.
Yeah.
With the safety cars.
Started on P1, pole position. Amazing qualifying lap. Then, unfortunately, it seemed like you had a disconnect there under the first safety car.
Yeah, I don't know what happened. That never happened to me. It wasn't even a blue screen. The computer just froze. I couldn't do anything. So maybe I suspect it's something to do with the wheel because I was warming up the tires and I never do that because usually there's no safety cars. So maybe, I don't know, some kind of glitch or something.
Okay.
And then, I just had to come back and was lucky with the second safety car.
Yeah, obviously we had quite a few safety cars here in this race. Probably more than we thought we were going to have. But they seem to help a little bit trying to get you through the field. But your pace seemed to be very consistent throughout. And I know you were saying that you were looking like you were going to be near the back. And did you surprise yourself today? Or was that all according to plan? Or were you just sort of talking yourself to be easy pickings, but actually end up being, when you take the sandbags off, you seem to be one of the quicker drivers?
No, it was all according to plan. I was just I talked with my mates and I was trying to play a cool joke before the season started. So yeah, I mean anyone can look at my, let's say, my records in officials and other private leagues, and I mean, not to brag, but I'm decently fast, so I obviously wouldn't be at the back. It was just for a few laughs.
Always great to see that little bit of banter there before the race, before the season starts. Obviously, know where you're hiding now, though, with with the with
Yeah.
finishing P2 there after coming from effectively what was the back of the grid as well. Obviously
Yeah.
helped a little bit by safety car, but I feel like you would have ended up pretty high up the grid anyway with the pace that you had that race.
Yeah, true. By the way, thanks to Frederick, who was actually P2 there at the end, and he let me by because this is not his main series. So yeah, shout out to him, and also shout out to my, let's say, my teammate Carlton Hall, because he also made it from the back. He was 2 laps down, and
Yep.
actually made it up to P11, I think, or somewhere
P7
around
is
there.
what we've got listed here.
Oh, P7. Okay. Yeah, that sounds about right. P11, by the way, is my other teammate, his teammate Corey Whiting, who was actually on the other end of the stick with the safety cars. He actually got the worst end of it. So, I mean, win some, lose some. So, and I'm sure he'll
Although,
be up there at the front next race.
I was going to say, you say that though, but he did set the fastest lap of the race, so does take that fastest lap bonus point, which is at least nice
Perfect.
to know.
Yeah.
He did finish obviously P11, but the fastest lap point means at least he'll have at least something to show for the race, because he definitely had good pace.
Yeah, it gives him some confidence for the next one, which I'm sure is very let down after what happened this race with the safety cars.
Yeah.
But I'm sure he'll make up his mind to the next race like he always does. Take that mentality and then come back stronger next race. Maybe I'll be not on pole because of that, actually. So that was actually bad for me this race that he got P11 at the end. Let's see.
Yeah, absolutely. But thanks for joining us, mate. And once again, amazing job from yourself to make a good comeback like you did.
Thank you. See you next race.
See you later. All right, let's hear from our P3 man, Frederick Larson, who I must admit, I've been very impressed. Frederick, good afternoon, mate. How's it going? How did you find that P3? Obviously, at the end there, you did start. Obviously, you came up from F3. You were looking to join F2, and honestly, from what we saw, you're looking like you could be a contender here in F2.
Yeah, but I'm still driving F3 this season. I'm just here to have fun, basically.
Okay. That's always nice to see.
Yeah.
Carlos Catal did say thank you for letting him by as well. So
yeah, we have the same team owner, so I figured I might as well be in good standing by him,
Exactly. But how did you find that race for yourself?
I mean, to be honest, it was actually not that exciting because I didn't gain a lot of spots or lose a lot of spots on track. It was mostly due to either me going to the pits or I'm making a mistake, something like that. I didn't have that many battles, to be honest. So it was kind of straightforward, to be honest, just lapping by myself. Obviously, I still had a lot of drivers right behind me, and they pushed me as well, especially in the end. I can't remember who was behind me, but they were really close.
So, it did look like near the end there with that 5-lap sort of shootout that the safety car had towards the end with Cesar Cabral, Carlos Catal, all trying to hunt you down for the for P3. But I mean, an amazing job. Obviously, you were at P2 for a while. Ivan Bovkamp, unfortunately, having a little bit of an issue and having to pit under safety car for the first time, which helped you get into P2 for the majority of the race, which was always nice to see.
Yeah, exactly.
But hey, to finish P3, first race in F2, first race of Season 3 at least, giving you good confidence for F3 then, moving forward.
Yes, so far I haven't finished below P3 in this series, so I'm glad.
We'll have to see what happens next race as well. Hopefully to see you there as well. Will always be cool to see these F3 drivers jump up and see what they can do in the quicker car.
Yeah, definitely.
But thanks again for that one, mate. It was an absolute pleasure to see all you guys racing, and you enjoy the rest of your evening, and hopefully we'll see you back next week, as I say. Hopefully P3, maybe higher up.
Yeah, we're going for P1 next week.
Awesome job. Nice to hear it. Alright, cool. That'll end it here, I think, ladies and gentlemen. As I say, that was one hell of a race. One hell of a race. And honestly, this race went way better than I thought it would. It was chaotic from start to finish. My voice is dead. I hope you all guys enjoyed it as well. Give a like. Follow along with the series. As I say, we've got F3 tomorrow, as well as F1. And yeah, I can't wait. I genuinely think this league, this season, is going to be one of the tightest seasons that we will see throughout. It's going to be absolutely mental, and we can't wait to see you all in the next coming weeks. But for now, guys, this has been Alyssa, and you've all been lovely, as always. And we will see you tomorrow for the F3.